Greg Newman, Newman.
There we go. Welcome to the Fine Print, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Caleb Teskey, and today I am joined by Greg Newman from Emeraldrose in Bristol, Vermont. Greg, thank you for being here, sir.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure.
And thank you for allowing me to sleep through my alarm and not being pissed at me.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool. You know, I'd like to start every one of my guests with a segment I call a 5-minute life story. Would you be willing to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I mean, grew up in Long Island, went on Grateful Dead tour, lived out west for a long time. And then Vermont's where my airplane happened to land. And I've been living here for 20 plus years now. My wife and I own an import gift shop called Emeraldrose Gifts. We've been in business for over 20 years since we've been here pretty much. And I opened up my grow shop across the street, Emeraldrose Grows. So we're kind of taking over Little Bristol a little bit at a time.
What kind of gifts do you sell, Greg?
Like imports, jewelry, clothing, gifts, that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. We would travel like all over Southeast Asia, India, Nepal, Bali, and go buy stuff for the shop and then bring it back,
Wow, cool.
That's kind of what we did.
Now, would it be fair to put you in sort of the legacy category here?
Sure.
Yeah,
I would say that.
Before we do anything, I wanted to congratulate you on getting your license approved here. You're the second licensee that I've interviewed so far. Yep. So congratulations, cool. Man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's a big step, What a long, strange trip it's been.
And what license were you approved for?
Tier 1 cultivation, and my dispensary application got pre-qualification approval.
Okay, so you're going for multiples.
Yeah. I mean, now, just the dispensary and the farm. And once that's all going, maybe I'll do a manufacturing just so I can manufacture my own things without having to outsource. But that's kind of up in the air.
Now, are you an indoor guy or an outdoor guy?
Indoor.
I would have pegged you as the opposite.
Nah, too much work outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any outdoor growing?
Sure. It's just a lot of work. You got to put a lot of time and energy into it. And I don't have the time or energy to commit to something like that.
How old are you now, Greg?
Over 50.
Good answer.
Yeah. Old enough.
Now, I'd like to know personally about some of your experience growing. If you've been growing for over 20 years, maybe some of the techniques that you've tried, some of the methods.
When I first started growing, it was like in the 80s, let's say, and early 90s. And hydro was a big thing. It was pretty popular and the new fad, I guess, So I learned basically through doing hydro. Then after a while, I just kind of decided to go more with soil. So then I was kind of blending my own sort of mixing different companies' bags together. For some reason, I thought that was a good idea. And then eventually I learned more about soil and how to mix it and what the reasoning behind certain things is when you put it in the mix. And now I just do living soil and pretty self-sustaining.
So you tried a lot of different, maybe trial and error techniques.
That's all it ever was. All it ever is nowadays people are pretty they're pretty fortunate to have the years and years of trial and error that people like myself went through, like trial and error with like everything in one boat. And one thing goes wrong, your whole life could go up in shambles,
Wow.
So, yeah, definitely trial and error. Learn to have a lot of patience.
Did you ever have any seasons like that where your whole crop just sort of went up in smoke and you had to?
Many a time, for sure. Yes, for sure. Many a time. You got to play cat and mouse with landlords, cops, and crooks. So that's, it's like an ongoing perpetual cat and mouse game. And on top of all that, you have all your eggs in one basket, or, and you're just hoping for the best in the end. Sometimes it came out the best, and sometimes it didn't.
My notes, forgive me, my notes here are a little bit all over the place, but
Sure.
I wanted to talk to you about your fancy weed. Can I ask you about fancy weed? I
Well,
saw.
they're just a breeder from that company they're breeders from Washington State. So I sell their seeds, their genetics at my shop or on my website.
You like those guys, I assume, or you wouldn't
Yeah, no,
sell
they're
their
they're
products?
good folks. Yeah, for sure. They're definitely good folks.
Now he seemed like another guy who's been in the game for a minute. I chatted with him at NECAN briefly, and he seemed like a super knowledgeable Jim, maybe.
Jim, yeah, yeah. Yeah, he definitely seemed like he knew what he was talking about, and he's been around the block a couple times. So, he seems like a good person to get a relationship going with.
And so that's a new relationship.
Yeah, yeah. We
Oh,
just met this
wow.
past, last weekend or whatever.
Oh, I got the impression you guys had known each other for a minute.
No, we just met. That's what that event is so good for. Just networking. Like I was able to link up with three new breeders for my website and for
Wow.
the shop, as far as obtaining new seeds. Two of them were Vermont people, breeders, so that's always good. And yeah, it was a good event overall. Lots of good strings and threads to pull on.
Now, I saw a Vermont seed company, I believe, Vermont Select. Did you talk to those guys at all?
Yeah, they do. I think they're more like in the hemp game. They
Okay.
do hemp products and that kind of stuff.
Cool. And I believe it was cool. I think I got to introduce you to my dude Nick, who just got his license approved as well.
Nick from Foreman's?
No, Nick from Emerald Visions.
Oh, Emerald Visions. Yeah. Yeah,
We
he
stopped by
was
your
a good
table.
guy. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a good guy.
Yeah.
For sure.
Cool. Now, what do you got behind you there? That looks like a giant grow light right there.
Right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hood with a high pressure sodium bulb in there, just hanging.
Is this your shop that you're sitting in?
This is my shop. Yeah.
Cool. And we're in Bristol.
We're in Bristol.
Can you walk us through your shop a little bit and
No.
tell us? No, not like, no, not with the camera.
I physically can't because you're on the computer.
Oh no, sure, but like, what
Yeah.
kind of things are you going to be featuring in your shop?
Well, right now my shop, it's a garden and grow shop. So we have lights and fans, some equipment, tents, that kind of thing. I have plenty of books and information. I also have dry amendments. I have liquid amendments. I have bacteria and probiotic additives for the soil. So it's like a pretty good probiotic organic grow shop. I don't have too much in the way of like hydro stuff because I'm not really into hydro, so I don't carry it. And then when I'm going to turn this shop into, and then I have tons of soil on the other side of this wall here. There's a whole nother room, and in there's tons of soil, like Build a Soil, Vermont Compost Company soil, Kiss Organic soil. I just got a delivery of Coast of Maine, so I've got like 8 different kinds of soils that I sell here for all kinds of people.
Did you
Then
say
when I make the place into the dispensary, probably right underneath that light from there back, I'm just gonna make that whole, pretty much everything behind me is all gonna be the dispensary. So I'll have like a showcase counter, I'll have a tower display case, and that'll be it. Not a big hoopla, Yeah, I'll carry my products from my farm, and then every month I'll have a revolving featured farm of the month, so I can keep it fresh and keep everything kind of flowing. Don't get stuck with anything for too long, So that's the plan.
Can I back you up, Greg?
Sure.
You mentioned the Vermont Compost Company, and I've never heard of that. Could you tell me a little bit about them?
Sure. I mean, they're out of Montpelier. They produce a really good product. They have a Jolly Roger, which is their cannabis hemp blend. And then they have a Fort Light, which is a lighter blend. And then they have Fort V, which is another blend. And they have some like composts and different other products that you can mix in with your soil. And they have their soils are all really good.
Cool. I've never heard of them, and that sounded intriguing right there.
Yep. They're out of Montpelier.
And what about here's another name that has been popping on my radar was Kiss Organics.
Kiss Organics, great company from Washington State. Tad Hussey, he's the owner, and he has an amazing podcast called what's it called? Tad Hussey's Science of Soil Cultivation.
No shit.
And it's all like hardcore, like scientifically based information and interviews.
Is he a friendly guy that would come on my show?
He might. You could call him and ask him.
That sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, you should check him out.
I should.
It's, Science of Cannabis Cultivation. That's what it is.
Cool.
Tad Hussey. I'm gonna make it. Super nice guy, and he definitely puts out an amazing product.
I'm gonna make a little note real quick. Sorry, I don't take notes that often, but that seemed like a good one.
Yep.
Todd Hussey.
Todd.
All right, cool.
Todd Hussey.
Now, boy, what is behind you? Can you tell me a little bit about what I'm looking at here?
I don't know what you're looking at.
I'm looking at
Looks
a stack. I'm looking at a
just
stack
a shelf with some nutrients in it.
Okay.
These boxes are all full of seeds. There's an information rack with magazines and stuff. And then there's pots in the back there. And yeah, I don't know, more products.
What is the stack? Is that a drying rack?
No, it's just a bunch of 5-gallon pots stacked up.
Ah, okay.
Oh, you mean that? The sack?
Yeah.
That's a drying rack, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's just zipped up closed, you know. But yes, that's drying rack.
Mm-hmm. Now, I wanted to ask you about some of the rules and regulations around opening a dispensary or a grow. Yeah. I don't know how closely you followed the board meetings or the legislation.
Somewhat. I was, I would follow it often for a while. And then after a while, I kind of got tired of following it because it was just a lot. Nothing that I needed to follow, I had other things to do. But yeah, I did follow it for a while. I think that the CCB is doing a really good job. They're trying to create something out of nothing. And they're not going the easy way by just saying, hey, you 5 or 6 big companies, we trust you. You have a record. Why don't you come on in? They're saying they're doing it the hard way and they're putting in the hard work. And they're saying to the legacy market, hey, we want you guys to come in out of the cold because you guys are going to be out there anyway, whether we invite you out or not, invite you in or not, So they're doing it really, I think, a good way about going about it.
Okay.
Definitely doing the hard work.
And I don't want to make you feel old, Greg, but it's been tough to get some of the legacy guys on. They don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, like almost like a learned behavior pattern where you just avoid people. You avoid publicity. You don't need your name out there. You don't need or want your face associated with something illicit. You might be like a regular, you might be a school teacher. You might be doing 100 things. And on the side, you might have this thing too. So, you got to remember, just because we branded the legacy market, you got to realize it's still illegal, and it's not a legacy market. It is, but it's the outlaw market. It's the market, the illegal market. So when they say legacy, they're just trying to fancy it up. Really, it's the illegal market that all these people were taking part in or are taking part in for X amount of time. And that's criminality. So nobody wants to talk about past criminality that could possibly jeopardize future opportunities. So that's pretty much why people probably don't want to come out so much, legacy people, and do it. Either whether it's talking to you or getting a license and participating in the whole program or whatever, there's a certain amount of PTSD after a long time that you kind of get used to, dealing with. So that probably, like, if I wasn't opening up a dispensary, I wouldn't be doing this. This is all for publicity and to get the word out and to, kind of get the word out and stuff. So now it's like I'm stepping out of the shadows in a sense, and embracing the evolution of whatever it is this is going to evolve into. So,
And
bonsai.
And you don't have to do that, I assume. That's a choice you're making intentionally.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you mean to talk to you or?
No, to step into the legal market.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, I could just, sit around and play the same old games, whatever, or you could evolve and I would rather evolve and follow the rules and, not be bothered or hassled or put undue risk or strain on my life. Join the club. Why not?
That was when I heard about legalization. That was what I got excited for. It was, hey, maybe cops will stop fucking with us.
Part of it.
I thought some of that maybe got lost in the conversation about, oh, now we got to make money out of this thing and this and that, for me, that's what it was.
Right.
Like, just leave me alone.
Yep.
I know for other people, and look, there's nothing wrong with making money.
Right.
You guys all make a killing. But for me, that's what it was. And I thought maybe some of that sort of got lost in the conversation.
I don't know. I mean, I think if you're a legacy grower and you're choosing to stay with the underground economy, that's your choice. That you're well aware of all your exposure to everything. Law, finances, whatever. That's a choice. Like in my grow shop, I wanted to sell live plants because I'm a garden center. Like, hey, I have these clones or I have these plants that for sale. You could bring it home, a full plant, grow it, and buy all your stuff from me. And it'd be easy, So that's why I initially looked into the dispensary angle, because you have to be a dispensary in order to sell live plants. So because there's no nursery licenses. So once I decided to do that, then all this other stuff kind of started falling into place. So.
And it seems like to meet the demand that they're asking for or projecting through the state, that we're going to need people who are selling live plants, starting all that shit from seed.
I mean, I guess, if I'm selling live plants to the public, not necessarily to other growers, but I would to other growers too, but they could probably get their own. But that's definitely a thing. And then, like, as far as the demand goes, I think each individual area or store will have their own story of demand, because up in Burlington, they're going to have far more people and a far greater demand than like down here by me. Down here by me, I'll get, the occasional Middlebury person that'll come up to see what's going on. I'll get some tourists, and then I'll get local people in the local general area. And that's pretty much it. So I'm not really anticipating a huge mega influx of people, whereas someplace like Burlington or Williston, the sheer population of people up there living and working and commuting, and then you have multiple socioeconomic variables there. You have, not teenagers, but college kids, young adults.
Some of those are teenagers, Greg.
Yeah. Adults, older adults, because there's all kinds of people that partake. So, but like up in Burlington, there'll be a huge demand and a big influx of people. So the supply chain might be a little strained at first, up in a place like Burlington. But down here or in smaller towns, like I think that at first there'll be a swell and it'll even out. and I expect to be busy, but I don't expect to have like a huge like flow of constant people.
Now, how much of your business do you expect to be tourism based versus your regular customer base?
Maybe like a quarter, we get people we're right on the other side of Sugarbush. So we get tourists that come going to and from Sugarbush and then Mad River Valley. Then we have people that are like visiting college students, whether they're at Middlebury or up in Burlington, and they come down because Bristol is definitely a destination location. We have tons of hiking and waterfalls and swimming
Oh, it's
holes.
beautiful. It's beautiful
Yeah.
out there.
So, we definitely have our year-round sort of bursts of tourism. There's a lot of bikers that roll through here all summer long. They like stop at like the restaurants, get off their bikes, walk around town.
Yeah, I work
just
at a bar in Stowe here, and we got the bike path right behind there,
Yep.
and we just get a ton of
of
traffic
people.
like that.
Yep. So yeah, that's kind of how it's gonna be. I'm just gonna take it as it comes. I have
That's the only way to take it.
I have like
It's like-
yeah, I have like a few people who are going to be licensed if they're not licensed already, farms, and between them and myself, I should be pretty good.
Are there any growers that you're going to be working with that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, Foreman's Finest, I'd like to have his stuff in my shop. And I don't know, there's a few others. I'm not sure if they're licensed yet or not, but they will be. So I don't want to jinx anything.
That's the interesting name that you pulled there, the first name.
Yeah, it's just the first one that popped up, and I'm pretty sure they're licensed.
They're not. I don't believe they are.
No, well,
But I also really like those guys.
Yeah. Nick's great.
We happen to be from the same town in Lindenville, so maybe I'm a little
cool.
biased, but when I heard his name, when I first started doing this project, and someone had mentioned his name in the background, and I heard it, and I was like, "What did you say?"
Yeah.
And then he invited me over to show me his shop, and
Nice.
that was encouraging to see some talented folks from Vermont getting into the game.
Yep, for sure. There's a lot of talent here, so
And that's what I've been saying the whole time, is that we have some of the best growers in the States, I believe.
Sure.
Firmly.
Yeah.
And I won't back off of that. When it comes to outdoor, especially, if you could make that work in a Vermont growing season in such a short window, you got some talent, I believe.
Yep. You're making it happen. For sure.
Now, can I ask you, did you have any issues with zoning or any shit like that?
No, nothing. No zoning problems, no zoning issues, no zoning problems for the farm, no zoning issues for the dispensary.
Wow.
Yeah, nothing.
How about like wastewater permits or anything like that?
For the farm, I'm a tier 1 grower. It's in an outbuilding in my own home. So a lot of all that stuff.
Oh, so it's a home occupancy. So you didn't have to do the fire marshal stuff.
I don't have to do the fire marshal. My zoning in my town is conducive to what I want to do. I didn't have to do any didn't have to do any wastewater management plan, none of that stuff, which is all by design. Like I did that by design. I don't want, maybe it's my PTSD, but I don't want a lot of people like nosying around my stuff and telling me I got to move this and change that and the other thing. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. I've been doing this a long time. I know.
And that's all because of the home occupancy clause.
Right. Exactly.
So if you were doing this in a separate building, the fire marshal could come through and say, "Hey, widen your doors so someone with a wheelchair could get in here."
Exactly. Which I don't have to deal with. I'm not having like a big operation where it's like a warehouse that I'm building into like some people are doing, it's like a small 1,000 square foot tier 1 space. It's totally workable for one person, and then during harvest time, you hire a subcontractor to do some trimming. That's about it.
And how how do you feel about being one of the first guys here to get a license in Vermont? You were right up there, like top
Yeah,
30 or yeah.
I think it's great. It's been a long, strange trip. So now it's just a matter of, of, applying all the laws and following all the rules. Like they haven't come up with a trace system yet, but they require us to trace and track all of our plants. So that's like a new hurdle that I had to figure out and get a big ledger book, and do lot dates and, columns and everything.
You're doing those notes by hand.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's not that big a deal, You don't have to do each individual plant. You just do like the lot, veg start date, flower start date, harvest date, what number plants got killed or whatever, died, end of harvest weight, drying time, all that, it's just easy columns.
And now you have to weigh your shit wet and then dry again. Is that correct?
No, I'm just gonna dry it and just weigh it.
I thought they were requiring a wet weight and then a dry weight as well.
That's retarded, and I probably won't do that. I mean, you're harvesting. What are they trying to find out the water content in your plants? That is retarded. So they could with that. I'll wait when plus it ruins the flower. You're going to take a whole plant and you have to like sit there and weigh each bud. You're hanging it. You don't, you that's ridiculous.
Okay. I'm going to check in on that. Please
They're
don't
just going to
quote me
want
on that.
end flower and dry weight. However, it's going to go out of the farm. They want to know the weight of what's going out of the farm.
Right. Which seems like the only important thing. How much weed are you selling? And,
Yep.
and is the kid 12 years old?
Right.
As long as he's 21 and you're selling the shit you grew,
Yep.
that should be the deal.
Exactly. So, yeah.
What about banking? Or have you started to deal with the banking piece?
Yeah, I've been a member of the Vermont Federal Credit Union for a number of years, for well over a decade, and they opened up a cannabis program. That's right here in Middlebury. So banking is no problem for me. As far as like taking cards or debit cards or that kind of stuff, for the dispensary, I'm looking into a couple of different companies. And
like Square Pay or stuff like that, just for transactions?
No, it's a company called Dutchie, which is a cannabis-centric, like integrated.
Same deal though, right? Like you
POS.
slide your card, they take a cut of your payment, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying. I still have to like figure it all out, but
Yeah, I haven't even
that's
heard
the
of
next
that.
hurdle.
I'd
So
love
the next hurdle is going to be tracing, which I have it manually. They won't get to that. The CCB won't really get to that until like August, sometime September. So that could go on the back burner for a while. Just keep my notes. And what was the other thing? Banking. Did
Banking.
that.
Yeah.
Insurance. I already got insurance from Fair Harbor Insurance
cool.
Company. So that's that. So yeah, so it's just a matter, as far as the farm goes, it's just a matter of getting the track and trace system that the CCB approves up and running, and then apply to that and get that all done.
Have they
Other than that,
picked
it's
one
just
yet?
sitting back and waiting.
Have they picked one yet? Because it seemed like basically there's this company Metric, and then
No, they haven't picked anyone. So and it has to be, they're the ones that have to vet the companies. So once they've decided what companies they want to work with as far as tracing goes, then I could go and sign up.
Oh, interesting.
Already took care of all my packaging. Packaging is done. And yeah.
You have some of the most iconic packaging that I've seen so far with the gorilla.
What do you mean?
Well, when we met at the Headies back in April.
Yeah.
And I believe you had a package with a gorilla on it. That was
yeah. Those are my chocolates. Yeah, those are just like temporary packaging for chocolates.
Is that going to be allowed packaging like that in the rec market?
I don't think so. It's got to be like sustainable, biodegradable, not plastic. So that's sort of like a thing right now with the packaging. It's like I spent a bunch of money on glass jars with biodegradable, reclaimed lids,
The ocean plastic on the top.
Yep, the ocean plastic, exactly, all that. So, like, the packaging is going to be an issue, but now the new issue is with the dispensaries. Now the dispensary is required. Well, it's not required, but it's up to the dispensary and the farm to develop a relationship around packaging. Is the farm going to package their own product and promote their own farm and then bring it to the market? Or are they just going to bring a big bag and say, here's my weed from my farm here? And then if that's the case, if my dispensary, if they don't want to bring it in prepackaged with their information on it, then I'm just going to get some inexpensive, house packaging, and just put it in that.
Yeah, right. So that is a great point you bring up there, Greg. Like, who's going to be responsible for that? Because I believe that as a cultivator, you can just put it in a large bag and bring it to a dispensary.
Yes, they just said that. Yep, they just said that. Yes. So a lot of farms and cultivators will be like, awesome, I don't have to spend money on packaging. I'm just going to bring it here. But then they're going to bring me a bag of weed and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to go put it in my bags, in my packaging. So when they buy your weed, they're going to think it's my weed. Is that okay with you? And if I would say, no, I want my brand up there. I want my name on my product. So if somebody doesn't want their name on their product, well, that's fine. I'll put it in mine.
So if you were growing, you wouldn't like maybe what you're thinking about doing.
If
you were selling weed to yourself, you would want it in the package where it came from.
Yeah, I want, whether I'm selling my packaged product out of my dispensary or anywhere else in the state, it's going to be the same jars, same packaging, and when people see it, they're going to be like, oh, that's Emeraldrose. They're going to know it, whether it's in my shop or someplace else. If somebody comes in with like that sense, like with packaged herb, all packaged up, and it's like Pro Filter Farms, then it's all set. I can just put it right into my counter and, start selling it right away. If they come in with a big bag and say, here's, clone X Farms, here's my weed, I'm like, oh, that's really great weed. Awesome. How much do you want for it? We'll negotiate a price. And I'll be like, do you have packaging? And they're going to be like, no. And I'm going to say, okay, cool. I'm going to put your weed in my packaging and sell it white labeled like it's mine.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've bought it and it's not in a package, I mean, that is yours now, technically.
Yeah, I think that was a mistake on the CCB side. I think that, and it only benefits the farmer to provide their own packaging. That way, every bit of product can be not just traced back to that dispensary, but back to the farm because it's in their own packaging. If you bring me a big garbage bag and I'm going to put that weed in another packaging with my label on it.
Wow.
I'm responsible for that weed.
Right. If it comes back moldy, if someone gets sick from smoking moldy weed, now it's got your label on it.
So I think that was a faux pas on the CCB. They're trying to make it easier for farms and cultivators to sell their product. Yeah, just put it in a bag, bring it, and it's up to the dispensary to package it. And then that puts undue, time, money, aggravation on the dispensary. Now I have to pay somebody to fill those bags. I have to buy packaging that is not as nice as my packaging because I want to sell my weed. So I got to sell, buy compliant, but yet not as nice or fancy a packaging and white label it. Be like, well, this is like really good weed, but it's not the better weed,
Right. You don't want to put someone else's weed in a nicer package than yours.
Yeah, of course not.
Hmm.
So yeah, I just think that like I feel it should be incumbent upon the farm to package their product for the marketplace before it goes out.
Hmm.
That's just my own opinion.
Greg, now I apologize that I'm going to have to run here, but we got 3 minutes left, and I hope we can follow up on this down the road. And I wanted to say
Sure.
thank you for joining me here, but I got
Yep.
3 minutes left here, and I want to give you the rest of the time to say anything you have to say.
I think I just said it all. I mean, I think the CCB is doing a great job. They're trying to create something out of nothing, and they're doing the best they can. They're dancing as fast as they can. I think that the packaging thing is one aspect, but you just look past it. Say, okay, jump past it. You don't want your farm promoted? No problem. I'll just package it in like this. So that, and let's just hope for the best as this industry rolls out in our state.
So you're an optimist.
Yeah. Always look on the sunny side.
What do you got behind you there? What do you got for art hanging on your walls, Greg?
Oh man, I got tons of art all over the place.
What's right behind your head?
Where? Right here?
Right.
No.
Keep going back.
Here.
Yeah.
That one, that's a picture of Jerry.
Are you a deadhead, sir?
Yep. Jerry Garcia, 1968.
How many dead shows you been to, Greg?
Hundreds.
Really?
Hundreds of shows.
I got to come see you sometime.
Sure, anytime, man. I'm always around. Should go up to DSO.
What's that?
Dark Star Orchestra at JP tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night
I'm off. Okay.
You don't have anything to do.
Will you shoot me a message after we get off here?
Sure.
Remind me. Maybe I'll come up for that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, man. Dark Star Orchestra tomorrow night at JP.
Okay. Well, Greg, I just want to, before we get out of here, I want to congratulate you again for getting your license approved. And I wish you the best, man. I hope that you kill it out there.
Yeah, thanks, man. I intend on it. I'll tell you where the bodies are buried.
All right. I'd love to hear that.
All right, man.
Very good. I'm going to slap this up tomorrow on the YouTubes, and we'll get it rocking, man. Thank you so much for your time, man. Best of luck.
Take care.
All right.